It's international break, but what do you love most? Do you love predictions or do you love power? I love power, but we've got power and predictions. Welcome to the Blue Monday podcast. So I've obviously not turned into a jittery buffoon in the international break, Mikey, have I? How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. I don't mind an international break. Me, obviously, in my line of work, it means I have a bit more time.
Amen. And Joe, it's going to be the inaugural Blue Monday Power Rankings today. Would you like to say hello and explain to our lovely audience what on earth Power Rankings are?
Yeah, evening everybody. And I think they're probably quite an American thing when you look at American sports, because they're all set up in like divisions. So you don't have a league table of everything at the start. So they seem to rank everything, and I'm sure it's something that YouTube people like to put on there because it draws people in. Come and look at my rankings. Everyone loves a ranking video, so they can come on and tell you how wrong you are about it all. And I'm sure tonight will be no different. But generally, the rankings, I noted down the things I was judging it on, and it's not everything, but it's sort of playing ability, contract status, fitness, the quality of the replacement that can come in if they miss, their current form, intangible qualities, just sell on potential, just the importance to the club of them at the moment. And
Joe, that's key, isn't it? It's in this moment, right now. And am I right in saying if one of them were to break their leg, they would drop right to the bottom of the power rankings? Yes, that's how this works, yeah?
Yeah, but I guess if Leif Davis was to break his leg, he would have dropped so far down because he'd still be worth a lot and on a long contract. But yeah, it's just, and obviously a lot of it is probably vibes and feel based on it, as opposed to this is the list and I am right and everybody else is wrong with who they say is the most important player.
Do you understand, Mikey?
Yeah, I'm just sitting here thinking, I hope we don't end up doing a Blue Monday power rankings, because that probably won't be very good for me at the moment.
Unbelievable scenes. Welcome, everybody, in the live chat. Remember, we go live each and every Sunday at 8 p.m. You can come and join us. Have your say in the debate, and we are relying on you guys tonight to have your say on our power rankings. Once we've done that, we are going through and predicting the next 8 games to Boxing Day, the most difficult run of the season thus far. Do get involved with that, and do hit the thumbs up button if you are enjoying the show. I'll say this anyway, even if you're not enjoying the show, hit the thumbs up button anyway, because it helps us out. And for those people who are listening after the fact, we appreciate the hell out of you. 5-star review, blah, blah, blah. Right, Joe, let's get into the power rankings. So we are ranking the Ipswich Town squad, basically in terms of significance, importance, stature, etc. We're going to rattle through these first 8 because numbers 28 to 20 are obviously players who are, kind of unlikely to feature. Joe, you have gone for bottom of the pile, the Indonesian social media dream, Elkan Baggett, Slicker 27, Aluko 26, Evans 25, Humphreys 24, Danassian 23, Bull 22, Edmondson 21. Mikey, if you want to chime in, if anything stands out to you, you can come in now and question Joe on that. But Joe, tell us your thinking. I guess maybe the one that stands out for me there is George Edmondson, who I might have expected to be a bit higher up the list. So tell me your thinking generally. Mikey, do you want to pop in or wait and see what Joe says first?
I'll wait and see what Joe says.
Generally,
yeah, go ahead.
Thinking sort of like the bottom 6, sort of Baggett, Slicker, Aluko, Evans, Humphreys, and Danassian. Even now, I don't think any of them will probably start. If things go okay, I can't see any starts for those guys in the league between now and the end of the season. And then obviously, when you look, you've got 2 teams of 11. I think Don Ball contract up in the summer. We seem to sort of have moved him down the ranking and sort of central midfielders. Yeah, he's got a nice bit of versatility that moves him around there, but that's about it, really, isn't it? On him, I think he'll be an important member of the squad through the rest of the season, but I don't think he's going to play a huge amount. And now with Edmondson, you'd imagine with Axel Tuanzebe in the squad, he's now got to be more the sort of the fourth choice defender as opposed to the third choice? And how often do fourth choice defenders play games?
Mikey, any takes on that as we go into the more regular players?
Yeah, I guess it was maybe Edmondson being 21st, as he's someone that generally makes the squad. That feels high. I can understand why you've put him there. And Evans, I mean, do we even expect to see him again? Like when is Evans going to be back in time to play in that FA Cup game? And failing that, I just can't see him playing much.
Joe?
Yeah, no, both Evans and Aluka are sort of the two senior players out of contract at the end of the season. Evans, especially with the injury, there's an argument that you could even slide him down a couple of places from there. But I think maybe if he does get fit, he might be someone whose experience is looked upon above the other guys.
Amen. Keep giving us your thoughts in the comments. It's going to be quite difficult for me to actually put them up because then the list actually is going to disappear. Speaking of disappearing, Joe has just disappeared as well, which might be carnage for me and Mikey, bearing in mind he came up with the power rankings. Let me just throw in another couple of comments. A couple of guys talking about Baggett, maybe. Remember, guys talking about potential. It's about the now, isn't it? So I can guess why.
It's how important they're going to be for us between really the now and the end of the season. Like, if any of those players got injured, would we really be worried at the moment? Probably not.
Sure. Right. Let's go from 20 down to 11, Joe. We have got, and that's mental, Walton 20, which I'm sure if we'd done this on the eve, a week before the season started, before we knew he was injured, probably would have been at least 10 places higher up than that, wouldn't he? Scarlett 19, Jackson 18. That's interesting. You got those that way round, Joe. Ladapo 17. He may drop in January, perhaps. Tuan Zabi 16. Maybe we'll be seeing a lot of him, but not until January. Clark 15. Maybe him and Walton are the biggest droppers since the start of the season. Harness 14. Taylor and Luongo 13 and 12. Interesting. I wonder will there be a switcheroonie there at some point soon. And Brandon Williams, 11. Do you want to come in first, Joe, and tell us your sort of thinking then? We'll try and throw a couple of comments up as we go.
A difficult one with Walton because, as you say, I'd imagine if we'd have done this at the start of the season, I'd have probably had him in the top 3. And that's sort of how far he's slid because ultimately Hladky's been so good. And yeah, it's vital you've got a good backup. But if Hladky stays in the team all season like this, I just wonder whether he even gets a new contract next season, or other than to take the option, try and get a fee for him, because he's not going to want to keep sitting on the bench. He came here to play games and came here, took a lot of work to get him here on good money to get him to drop down, and now he's sort of nowhere. And then it's sort of much of a muchness with the striker. Scarlett hasn't shown a huge amount yet, and hopefully he's one that is sort of primed to rise up the rankings over the course of the season. Jackson is just a versatile option who McKenna likes, who performs a task for us. And then you've got Freddie Ladapo above him, a player that is important at the moment, but you hope wouldn't stay that way throughout the rest of the season, because maybe you want someone a little bit close to George Hurst to help him up there to bring Hurst down the rankings a little bit. Tuan Zabi, again, a player like Scarlett, maybe primed to move up there, could end up at the start there. Harry Clark is probably our best defensive sub he's the player that comes in for either fullback if they're missing. Marcus Harness has been an excellent sub this season. And then when you look at Luongo and Taylor, they're so close together because I think their abilities are so close together, because I don't think we're going to miss one or the other of them so much if they were to get injured, which is great. And it's great squad planning. And it's because we've signed Jack Taylor and invested a good fee and invested the time in him over the season that's pushed him up to Luongo's level. But I just think, I don't think we're worried now about January and Luongo missing games, where a few weeks back, where Taylor maybe hadn't quite made the start we were all hoping he would do, it was probably a concern. And then Williams, 11. Again, I think he's a really good player, but if he misses games and Harry Clark plays, I don't think the drop-off is too severe. That's probably, when you look at the subs, I think you've got Taylor, Harness and Clark are the 3 people that have come in and proved that they can just come up to the level quite quickly, where outside of that, you're making little adjustments to have them fit. And I think Tuanzebe and hopefully Scarlett could maybe push to that level as well.
What's your thinking, Mikey? This group, I guess, are the first reserves, aren't they? Frankly.
Yeah, and when I looked at these initially, it did raise an eyebrow for me that Luongo and Taylor were both ranked outside of the top 11, despite being one of them is a guaranteed starter. But like Joe says, it's Taylor's influence over the last few weeks that is basically he's got lower down the rankings if we're talking in terms of number, whereas Luongo's got higher up the rankings through no fault of his own. He's just as good and just as important, I suppose, in some ways as he was a few months ago, but you're just not going to miss him quite as much now Taylor's in such good form. We obviously spoke about how far down Christian Walton has dropped, but I think we've got to talk about how far up Marcus Harness is now. And I don't think anyone can argue that he's kind of the attacking bench option number one, isn't he? And I suppose if we've got Burns back, then Hutchinson probably is, but in that central position, and he can play a few different roles up there. I don't think many of us would have been expecting Marcus Harness to even be in the top 20 at this stage, let alone, 14th in Joe's rankings. And I think he's well placed there as well.
Joe, after the Plymouth game, just a hypothetical question. I presume you would have had Brandon Williams probably 5th or 6th, maybe, after that great run before he disappeared out of the team. Is there, in your kind of rankings rationale, is there the chance that literally as soon as he comes back in the team, if he's at the level he was, he'll climb right back up? Yeah.
Well, yeah. When you look at Leif Davis, and we'll see in a minute where he's ranked for us, if he can carry on having the same impact as what he's had over that sort of period of games when he was sort of man of the match every week for 2 or 3 games, then yeah, he's going to be pushing right up there, because Clark becomes the sort of drop off. But Clark is covering effectively Leif Davis and Brandon Williams, isn't he, there? So it's just that balancing act of where he is. But I think, yeah, there's real potential. And like I say, when you're looking at the ones that could potentially rise, it's Scarlett, Tuanzebe, it's Williams, players that are either loan players or players that have joined this summer that have got that sort of potential to move up. Then I guess Jack Taylor as another summer signing is a long way to potentially to go there.
Yeah, and I think just on Caden Jackson as well, I think Kieran McKenna would probably have him higher up in his power rankings, wouldn't he? Because of what he can offer. He leads the team for possession 1 in the final third per 90. He's obviously very effective when we need to press, but he also can play a couple of positions and you can just play him in behind. I think maybe Jackson is maybe you've been a little bit unfair on him there, Joe, him being 18 for me.
It's just, I guess it's who above him would you push down to move him up the rankings, though? Because like Ladapo is more important at the moment because he is the 9 option. Harness is being a good attacking sub, and then all of a sudden you're into the midfielders there. But no, I think he's a player that is definitely underrated by a portion of the fan base for the job that he can do.
What's going on? It's a subjective debate, and you two didn't insult each other when you disagreed then. Unbelievable scenes here on the Blue Monday podcast. Right, we're going to go 10 up until 6, Joe. You've got Amari Hutchinson, nice and high there at 10. Cam Burgess at 9. Wes Burns at 8. Connor Chaplin at 7. And Luke Wolfenden. I'm going to try and preempt the comments. I suspect they're going to comment on Hutchinson and Burns being quite so close together and Chaplin not being higher, Joe. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I think so. It's Hutchinson is just, he's just become so important in recent weeks, I think. And I know Wes Burns has been injured, but Hutchinson's come in, has done really well when he's played in front of him. But it's not just that. He's the player that is making differences off the bench every week. And he's a player that's got better and better this season. But as it moves on, you do just think, well, he's going to find a way into this team at some point in the season because he has got better. So we've moved from there. And then like Cam Burgess, he's a player who, again, sort of came into the team last year, wasn't one that you expect to do well, but it's been superb for us. But I guess his power ranking is in danger with regard to going away for that tournament, the Asia Cup in January, and Axel Tuanzebe playing, because it might be that pushes him down. But I think he's well within sort of worthy of that place at the moment. And Wes Burns, he's just a player that we've missed him so much recently, and despite how well people have come in for him, I think he just offers us so much. And when you look at his impact from sort of the time from when he signed to us to now, he's basically not really missed many games in that period. And when he's been fit, he's always started for us, whether Paul Cook was the manager or whether Kieran McKenna's been the manager. He was that real key piece in that when we originally played that sort of 3-5-2 formation, where he was sort of the right wing back that would sort of drop back. And he's still the player that knows our system the best, it seems. And I think he was probably a player that maybe people weren't expecting to step up as much this season. I think maybe it looked like he might have reached his ceiling a little bit and would drop out the team. And you signed Hutchinson, but just yet again, I think he's proved how important he is, and his absence has done that. Connor Chaplin, whilst I think 7 is low for him, I do look at the players above him and think, is that good or bad? I don't know. It's difficult, isn't it? And I think him and Broadhead are probably ones that you could switch over. You'll see where Broadhead is in a minute. But I guess Broadhead has sort of picked up some of the burden of goal scoring as well, where Chaplin I think he's still our top scorer, but Broadhead is joint with him with 6 at the top of the charts as well. So last year he was so important because of the goals, but we seem to have shared it about a little bit more this team. But I do think that he does so much, not just on the pitch, but around the club as well, that maybe, he could go a couple of places higher. And Luke Wolfenden, I think maybe some people would have him a little bit higher. Maybe you could have done, but I just think there's an argument now that Tuanzebe is coming back into it. How much weaker are we if we have Tuanzebe and Burgess as the central pair? I don't know if we would be at the moment, where that hasn't been the case for a long time, because I think whenever Luke Wolfenden's not been in the team, it's been really, really noticeable.
What are your thoughts, Mikey?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the big one is I probably would be inclined to switch Chaplin and Broadhead, because Chaplin he was the leading goal scorer last season. He's the leading goal scorer this season. I think he's our main goal threat, and maybe slightly more productive in a game where he's not really involved too much. I think Broadhead can be really quiet at times. And I think Broadhead, there's maybe an argument to be made in the Championship that has a bit more of an X factor, to use that expression, like Amari Hutchinson. His ceiling is slightly higher, I think, than Chaplin's, but just Chaplin's been unlucky a couple of times, come close to scoring a couple of really nice goals on top of the goals that he has scored. And like you say, Joe, the stuff around the club as well, I think he's a really important member of that team. But this is a nice argument to be having, isn't it? Really, like they've both stepped up really well in the Championship. Broadhead hasn't surprised me. Chaplin and Burns probably have. I think Burns is sort of the perfect, almost hybrid of what Jackson and Hutchinson can give you, isn't he? Like he gives you loads of pace and he can stretch teams, but he's also got plenty of guile on the ball as well. So gets accurate crosses into the box. But yeah, I'm not going to hugely argue with what you've got there, Joe. Just personal preference, I probably would just put Chaplin slightly higher than Broadhead. And
let's reveal the top 5 now in our inaugural Blue Monday power rankings. Remember, this is completely subjective. So try and make your comments in the live chat reflect that. Else I'm not putting them on the screen. And let's see what Joe has gone for at number 5. Vaclav Haladki, easy for me to say. At number 4, there he is, Nathan Broadhead. Number 3, George Hurst. Number 2, Leif Davis. And number 1 in the inaugural Blue Monday. It's a good thing I'm not on the screen now, whereas I can't speak. Power rankings is Sammy Morsey. Let me know your rationale first, Joe. My feedback is, probably the 5 players most people would have in there. Maybe we've seen from the chat a few would have Chaplin in there, although make your own list, because then you've got to remove somebody. I'm always for putting Broadhead as high as possible, because I think in terms of a match winner, he's the man in that squad in a tight game or whatever. He's who you're looking to. But I assume there's a lot of intangibles with Morsey being number 1 and the leadership side of it. as well. Run us through your rationale, Joe. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. If you're big enough to have a pop at Joe, you're big enough to put your top 5 in then, and we can have a pop back at them then. But Joe, give me your rationale for your top 5, and we'll go to some comments and Mikey.
Yeah, 5. Hladky he's just been so integral to the way we play this season, and there's come on so much. I guess the thing we don't know is if he were to miss the next 6 games, would Christian Walton come in and really make us a lot worse? I don't know if he would do. So there could be an argument on that side. But I just think he's been so key to the way we play, and not just that, he's the best keeper in the league on the goals prevented stats, as well as all his sweeping, playing high up the pitch, getting on the ball, making us tick, taking the ball in confidence, and just has taken our game to a new level this season. So I just love watching him, and I think he's great. Number 4, Nathan Broadhead. Again, like you say, he is the difference in these tight games, and he can be the one that takes the game by the scruff of the neck and just pulls us into it, like the Cardiff game. He just gets onto the ball in such great spaces, and whilst maybe he doesn't have the 90-minute impact that Connor Chaplin has, I just think his highs are so much higher than anyone else in the squad, and you need that. Number 3, George Hurst, but it's that's maybe partly because of the makeup of the squad for me, that the drop off when he goes off the pitch just seems so vast. You've seen that in recent games where I think it was the last game where he stays on and he comes off in the 89th minute, and it's when he's run himself into the ground. And I think all fans would hope that he's not the 3rd most important player by the end of the January transfer window. But the only way that's going to happen is...
Sorry, is his importance almost because he's holding that position down? It's almost because of who else is not there as much as his...
absolutely,
output.
yeah. Because he's not the 3rd best player in the squad for me. He's probably the 8th or 9th best player, which is still great. And he's doing a great job. And he is the archetypal Kieran McKenna striker, the guy that can hold the ball up, sort of get us playing, but also run the defenders down, chase them down, give him a bit of stick, finish a chance when it comes his way. So he's doing a great job. But yeah, he's 3rd, but mainly for the makeup of the squad as opposed to anything else. And then 2nd, Leif Davis. I don't think he's had a brilliant month when you actually look at his performances. He's sort of struggled in a few games. Sort of was like, if you think back to the Bristol City game, he falls asleep and they nearly score straight from there. And he gives the ball away against Plymouth for a goal. And you just think, but then you look at the stats and you see, actually, he's still got like 5 assists this month. And that set piece delivery is so key. When you look at our stats, it's just our set pieces are probably the best in the league with regards to creating chances and scoring goals. And also the way he stepped up, and he's probably worth 15, 20 million now to us, maybe gives us that freedom to maybe try and recruit a bit more in January, because we know we've got a sale down the line to cover FFP if the gamble doesn't.
I've been using that argument
work
as my own this past week, Joe. I've stolen it from you.
But you know what I mean? That does make him so important to us. And then for me, number 1, the captain, Sam Morsey, just is the absolute heartbeat of the team. And you notice when he's not there, he just sets a standard, he drives it on, and he's just been, well, sort of from... I wouldn't say from the second he's walked in the door he's been great, because I didn't think he was brilliant under Paul Cook, but from the second that Kieran McKenna's walked in the door and he switched Morsey and Evans, Morsey has just been unbelievable. And
Joe, to be clear, playoff semi-final 2nd leg tomorrow, you have to sacrifice either Morsey or Broadhead. You'd sacrifice Broadhead.
Yeah, because I think for any game, if there's any player in any game for us, I'd have Morsey. If the option is Morsey or anyone, I would have Morsey every single time, because he is just so key to us.
Because an in-form harness, if it was tomorrow, Ben comes in for Broadhead, and he's a match winner on his day as well. He's a good technical player and he's got an eye for a pass. He's no Nathan Broadhead, but the drop down from having Sam Morsey, because of how much better he makes the players around him as well. He's the leader. And like, for me, he's genuine. Like, I think he gets in every championship team. Maybe he doesn't get in the Leicester team because of the caliber of players that they have, but I think he gets in every other team and would be an important player as well.
Before Mike just has a little rattle through that top 5 there, we've got lots of comments. We only had well done Sarge with a top 5, well done Jace with a top 5 as well. Joe's put his neck on the line. Come on, you lot in the comments. Do the same.
Maybe they all just agree with him, Ben.
Oh, well, not from what I'm seeing, they don't.
But I don't think that the drop-off in quality of player from, say, Morsey to Luongo or Morsey to Taylor is that big, but it's just everything else that he brings to the team that is where the drop-off is.
100%. Mikey, do you want to just quickly rattle through your top 5 and hopefully get a few more coming via the comments? What's your take?
I mean, my top 5 is exactly the same as Joe's, but Chaplin is in ahead of Broadhead just because I think on a quiet day, he offers a slightly bigger goal threat. I think if both players are absolutely at their best, I think Broadhead is the better player, but I think Chaplin is that goal scorer and he gets loads of assists as well on top. There's not a huge amount between them. George Hurst, for me, I'd have him, if you were rating the quality of players, for me, he's slightly higher. I think he's a fantastic all-round centre forward, and they're so hard to find. And we've finally got one, haven't we? Like a striker that can outmuscle defenders. He can punch his weight in the air, but he's also got really good touch, can hold it up, play back to goal, play in behind. He even scored a penalty, didn't he? So hopefully we're going to win a few more of them between now and the end of the season, and he'll make a difference from there as well.
Brilliant stuff. Well, I very much enjoyed the concept. If you want to get them in, we had another few 5s coming in. Well done, Neil, Colin, Davis Morsey, Chaplin. I think that's the only contention people have got with your list, Joe, is the position of Chaplin. But as Mikey said, it's a kind of nice sort of problem to have. But do get them in via Twitter. And if you enjoyed this concept, well, there's no international break till March. We can kind of throw it in as a bonus thing, and we'll get someone who isn't Joe to do it, so he doesn't have to sit through everyone having a pop at his subjective opinion about everything. Here we go. There's a couple more.
Joe, if they did an out of the 92 power rankings for clubs, where would Ipswich rank at the moment for you?
Probably about sort of 13th, 14th, I'd say.
13th or 14th, Ben. How about it?
Out of the 92?
Well, not for quality, just for like where we are on the up.
It's all about like form and things like that, Ben, the power rankings as well when you do club ones. I'm just going to fill some space here, but
in the top 5 or something there, just behind
Steve.
No,
because it is still in terms of quality. But
okay.
So sort of 13th, he's putting us above all of the absolute dross at the bottom of the Premier League and a few sort of mid-table teams. Maybe put us above teams like Crystal Palace at the moment.
There you go. I'm learning the concept as we go. And thank you, everybody, for joining in. And yeah, let us know if you want us to keep up this concept. We're going to go on to a tried and tested one, Mikey. The predictions in just a second. But, Mikey, what is that you're wearing?
So this Ben is from a nice independent company called Wear the Sport. It's an online shop with just some lovely Ipswich Town items. I think it's mostly hoodies and t-shirts. The t-shirts look really nice and oversized. I'm gonna get one in the next couple of weeks, and I believe that we can have a discount for our Blue Monday viewers and listeners as well. I've got the Chef Kikuchi one, as you can see, but there's Sam Morsey being carried off the pitch. There's a Luke Chambers.
I was wearing Rooster Premiership last week.
Lovely, yeah, and there's some really nice stuff on there. And he's a Blue Monday listener, huge Ipswich Town fan. So, yeah, if you're looking for potential Christmas presents for Ipswich Town fans, and let's face it, there's a hell of a lot of us at the moment. That's the place to go. Wear the Sport. Could you let sharpen us up on what the discount code is? Wearthesport.com,
and your promo code is Blue Monday, and you're going to get 15% off. And maybe you can let your loved ones know that might be a nice Christmas present for you, being they've bought you every single bit of Ipswich Town. I was going to say apparatus then, apparel already. Couple more quick plugs. Prematch Show Thursday night is West Brom. That'll be Rich and Seb at 8 p.m. Come and join them. Flagship will be on Sunday night talking about the West Brom game, which is, what can I speak tonight? It's pathetic, which is on Sky on Saturday night. That will likely be me, Dave, and Joe, if my vocabulary hasn't shrunk to about 4 words by then. We are going to go to the predictions in just 31 seconds after we hear Mikey's voice talking about our wonderful friends at Innovation Labs.
Innovation Labs is business hub and co-working space with strategic locations across Suffolk. Our aim is to foster innovation, entrepreneurship, business growth, and the development of an AI centre of excellence in Suffolk. Monthly hot desks are available from just £79. For more info, head to innovationlabsgroup.com or contact info@innovationlabsgroup.com. Innovation Labs, providing support for businesses across Suffolk. Locations in Stowmarket, Ipswich, Sudbury, Woodbridge, with more to follow.
Right, have a think about this, you lot, in the chat as we speak, and tweet us if you're listening after the fact. 8 games we have here to talk about going up to Boxing Day. Don't put your total in yet, because it will get lost in the shuffle and then you'll cry when I don't read it out. So wait until I ask, and all the Blue Monday team have got their totals as well, but we will go through one by one these next 8 games. Let us know your thoughts as we go. Probably, well, I say probably, if you actually do any kind of sort of data analysis of the quality of the opponents here, this is the most, if they hold form, this is the most difficult run of the season thus far. And it starts, and we'll go through game by game here, with a trip to West Brom. Mikey, they're pretty tight at the back. Carlos Corberan's teams tend to be that way. Very solid team shape. Still got the drips of the parachute money that ran out in the summer. And we do have to factor in Leeds play the Friday night. Everyone else plays at 3 o'clock and we play at 5:30. I think I've got a draw in this one on my list, Mikey. What are you saying?
Yeah, I think a draw would probably be a popular result for this one. West Brom are a decent side with some good players. They don't concede many goals, and we've had this international break as well, so it's not like we're going in with off the back of the victory. I think a draw is probably the most likely result for me, and also a good result. If you offered it to me, I wouldn't get on that bus.
Joe, talk to me about the West Brom game, and then moves us into Millwall at home after that as well, please.
It's hard to add much to what you guys have said there. Corberan's got in there and he's got them very organised. They're very tight, aren't they? They're not a lot of goals in their games, and it's one of those ones where if you can get up there and score a couple, you'll probably win the game. But like Mikey said, you wouldn't get on the bus if you can get a point there. I think we're at the stage where we've got so much credit in the bank and so many points in the bank that you start picking up good points away from home and keeping your home form excellent. You're going to be in a fantastic position.
Millwall, Joe?
Millwall, it's a game you've got to try and catch them cold, don't you? They've got a new manager. Joe Edwards has gone in there, and obviously his first game they won 4-0. But I think when you look at Liam Senior's comments when we played Hull earlier in the season, he spoke about how Ipswich are sort of where we want to be. They've got all their triggers. They know what they're doing. I'd imagine that Millwall are going to be working on the similar stuff, what their pressing triggers are going to be, how they're going to play out from the back, what their patterns are going to be. And hopefully we can just catch them cold and just use the extra experience and knowledge and time and composure and everything we've got in our squad just to sort of try and roll them over, start quickly and try and roll them over at home.
I've got a win. I've got a win there against Millwall, Mikey. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I've got a win there as well, but I don't think it will be easy, especially if we're coming off the back of a defeat at West Brom, because that's the type of fixture that we now look at. Even though Millwall were really good in the Championship last year, they only narrowly missed out on the playoffs. I think we look at Millwall at home now and we think, yeah, that's a home banker, and I know we know it's difficult, but I think another packed out Portman Road, be a very expectant crowd on that Wednesday night. I'm slightly worried about it, but ultimately I think we'll get the 3 points from that one.
Hear me out. I know I'll get some emotional responses from this. I've got us drawing with Coventry on the basis it's Mark Robbins who is struggling and is battening down the hatches, and they will happily sit and might be able to limit us to, I know not many teams have been able to limit us to a single goal. I think they might be able to get out with a 1-1 there. So I think there's teams in there that, in terms of style, we would rather face than Coventry, who I think are going to sit in. What's your take on that, Mikey?
I think sometimes, Ben, you worry too much, mate. I've got us down for 3 points in that one. I think we've got a better manager than them. We've got better players than them. I think we can beat Coventry at home on a Saturday afternoon, and that will be 7 points from the week. We'll still be absolutely flying. We might even be top.
I love that. Joe, what's your take?
Yeah, generally at Portman Road, we seem to beat the teams we should beat, don't we? And as good as Coventry were last year, they've not been good this year, haven't they? Have they? They're 20th, 19th, 20th in the table at the moment, and just are not winning any games. They've drawn a few, but they seem to draw or lose most weeks. I know that's obvious when they're at the bottom of the table, but I don't see them. A few weeks back, I'd have said they look like the sort of team that look like they're going to click into gear at some point, because they've got.
I still think that's going to happen.
Look unlucky, but I just don't see it now. I think once you get so far behind the 8 ball, like you said, sort of, they might batten down the hatches. I think they're now in a position where they've just got to try and ensure that they get themselves into a comfortable mid-table position, and that's going to be the height of their ambitions this season. So you've got to try and win that one, don't you?
Is Sims still playing a star? Is he still playing a starting role?
No, it's been Hadji Wright with 2 playing off him. So be a lovely front 2 if they played Wright and Sims. But
if Sims comes on, that's one that you worry about a little bit, isn't it? After what happened in the summer.
I agree with that. Another thing you worry about, Joe, although Mikey tells me I'm being too cautious, is Middlesbrough away, 9 wins and 11 in all comps. Carrick versus McKenna, Joe. What do you reckon?
Well, they're 2 managers who know each other like the back of their hands, don't they? They've sat in meeting rooms and managers' rooms with each other for probably 16 hours a day, 7 days a week for 3 years. So there isn't anything that they won't know about each other. So it will just be a case of who can get the better of the other one. And I think this is one of those ones where you can see them cancelling each other out in there. And I think if that did happen, they cancelled each other out and we came away from the BT Cellnet Riverside Stadium with a point. I think you'd take that now, wouldn't you?
Mikey,
100%.
You won't be surprised to know I've got 0 for this one. I think we're going to get beat at Middlesbrough. Don't worry, I've got some wins coming.
Yeah, I'm actually with you on this one, Ben. I've got the loss coming here as well. Just we can't win them all, and that isn't going to be an easy afternoon going all the way up to Middlesbrough. Facing Carrick, he's going to be bang up for it. And Middlesbrough, let's face it, they're going to need that win more than us.
Right. I have actually got us beating Watford. And this is what I mean by there's certain opponents. I'd rather play Watford away than Coventry at home. I think we'll get more of the game, more of the ball, and we'll make more chances, etc. So I've actually got us winning at Watford, Mikey.
Yeah, I've got us winning at Watford as well. I haven't seen a great deal of them this season, but they seem a little bit chaotic. And yeah, we generally do well in the big away games down south this season. So I'm going to back us for 3 points at Watford. I'm going to be enjoying that one with Mr. Joe Fairs, and I'm sure that he's got us nailed on for 3 points as well.
I think people are sleeping on Watford a little bit. I think they're quite a decent side, and
cool.
But
let's have some more Americanisms, Joe.
No one in this team is sleeping on anybody, Joe. Come on,
I don't think until Ishmael sort of gets the January window to bring some of his players in. I think there's a lot of internal politicking going on there with regards to the director of football has now left and Ishmael's been given a longer contract. So I think it is him trying to get his guys in there. But at the moment, they just look a sort of well-organised defensive team who just have a couple of quality players going forwards, but no real structure going forwards. A little bit like Leicester, but maybe sort of a Poundland version of Leicester in that regard.
Speaking of Poundland,
we'll win.
Ipswich beat Norwich, Joe.
3 points. Crappest team in the league. Well, apart from the bottom three.
What are you doing?
No. To be honest, when I've watched Norwich, they've looked really unimpressive when I've seen them on too many occasions this season. I don't know I saw that Johnny Rose got injured, but I don't know whether Josh Sargent and Ashley Barnes will be back by then, because I know it's defensively where they've got a lot of issues, but I think a lot of the problems defensively come from the front of the pitch. They don't have those two, which are high-quality championship forwards who can sort of press and give them a foundation to start on up that side of the pitch. If they haven't got Barnes and Sargent back in, and if Rose not back in there, forget all this rubbish about form book goes out the window, blah blah in a derby. It doesn't. We're better than them, and we'll beat them.
Yeah, the form book never went out the window, Ben, when we were the team that was struggling, did it?
Stayed on the table, didn't it?
I'm obviously a little bit worried about this one, because I feel like Norwich have got to be better then than they are right now, surely. One way or another. It's either Wagner finds something in the next couple of weeks and they go into the derby with a little bit of form, or they go down a different route, and then you have all the difficulties of playing against a team with a new manager bounce. I'm obviously concerned about it because winning it means so much. But I'm just going to go there and I'm going to try and enjoy us going into a derby as the better team and having a fantastic opportunity to beat them for the first time in my adult life.
I think, like, without sort of, I know, all joking aside, I just don't think they've got the quality at the top of the pitch at the moment, and that is because they've got players missing, not because they don't have it in the squad. So if they still have those players missing it, they're just up against it in the same way we would be if we had our three main forwards out. It brings you back down, and it is doing them currently.
Remember, we'll be playing with 9 men though, probably, Joe, for a lot of that game.
Mikey, I didn't hear your win, draw, loss on Norwich.
I went win.
I am also going to go for a win. I'm not going to say anything else. And I'm going to say, oh my God, please, for God's sake. And to bring us right back down, Mikey, I've got a 0 at Leeds, I'm afraid. I think hopefully my total will mean that we're still in second place and we've still got a lead to hold on to going into that game, but I can see Leeds winning that one at Ellen Road, Mikey.
Yeah, I can as well. We know what a good attacking team they are. One thing we'll say, we seem to be better defending against these really good attacking teams away from home. Just hope that if we can get to half time at 0-0 in that one, then I think we'll have done really well and we've got every chance of getting at least a point. But yeah, I think if you look at these fixtures, I mean, that's arguably the hardest game of the year, isn't it? In a packed out Ellen Road just before Christmas. We don't know how close they're going to be to us by then as well. Like that's going to be a huge game, and one that if we can get a point, then that'll be a huge bonus, because I think most of us are probably expecting to lose that one, especially as Leeds are such a fantastic team, Ben.
Joe? Going to be a really, really tough game, isn't it? When you look at it and you look at the squad, you look at how they play, they've got all that quality going forwards, but we've got quality as well. And if we can turn the game into a shootout like it was at Portman Road between the two of us, we've got a chance of coming out of that game with something. But yeah, when you look at it on the calendar, it is one that you probably think, yeah, 0 points on that one. But I back this team wherever they go, to be fair. Like, I think Colin's just mentioned the comment about the lunchtime kickoff. I think that will help us because Ellen Road is, like, I know people talk about Millwall, but I think Ellen Road is a real big intimidating ground, isn't it? You're surrounded there.
I've heard that Ellen Road is louder for a lunchtime kickoff for some bizarre reason. To name drop, you've already, I think you name dropped a little bit in the green room, so I'm going to do it now. I spoke to Dominic Matteo last season ahead of Leeds Newcastle, I think, and he was explaining to me why Leeds fans are louder on a lunchtime kickoff. It's something to do with, like us on Derby Day, where we think, well, we better start drinking at this time because the game's at that time and you end up drinking more than you normally would.
I don't know, that Christmas weekend, that everyone would have been out on a Friday night, had a few too many beers. I do think that is one that could help us. Whatever Dominic says, I'm not convinced. I think that might just be his bias on it. But I just, if you can get there, because the problem is there's a lot of noise from the Leeds fan base about Ipswich already, isn't there? So that is a game that they've very much got circled in their calendar. Looking forward to it. But a lot can change between now and then. We could be 14 points ahead of them by that point, or we could be 2 points ahead of them, and then all of a sudden it is a humongous game. But they could have just done their usual where they win 3 and then lose a couple.
Are you going to do the home end for that one, Ben?
I think I'm on Christmas duty, so I don't think I'm going to be able to.
It's on Sky, isn't it?
I think I might even be travelling at that point as well. I've just been. I'll be told where I'm going to be, and I'll try and wangle some way of seeing it. But yeah,
you'll be driving home for Christmas, will you?
I'll be driving to a caravan in bloody Chichester, let alone home. Right, guys, get your numbers in. Now we're on to the last one, which is Leicester City at home. So let me just put the image up. So give us your numbers for 8 games. We prefer the numbers that come out of your head as opposed to your heart or even your backside. But put whatever numbers you want to put up. Freedom of speech is alive and well in the chat. I think we're going to get something against Leicester on the telly at home on Boxing Day. I think they might take the lead, but I got a point for that one, Mikey.
Yeah, I could see that as well. Sorry, I thought we were just doing predictions up to the Leicester game. So,
give yourself some more points.
Oh, okay. I'll add 3 points on then. I feel like we're either going to be coming off that Leeds game feeling like promotion is almost like within our grasp, and they're like, "Come on, if not now, then when?" Like, if we win that league, if the next few weeks goes really well, and we somehow win at Leeds, we go into that game and we'll be on such a high, and I think that we'll elevate to another level like we did in April time last year, or we lose at Leeds and then we have to bounce back, and I think that Leicester at home on Boxing Day, a night game, I think that's actually really good fixture to have on Boxing Day. I'll go for a win, Ben. And just please, nobody give Jamie Vardy anything to feed off. Just don't say anything.
He doesn't need any. Yeah. Joe, Leicester at home. Leaders Leicester.
Are they? Oh yeah, only on goal difference though. But
that is the fact.
There is also the point that Maresca has never managed a team through a Christmas period before as well. He's got to work out what he's got to do there, and I don't think we've got anything to fear from Leicester. Like, yeah, they're an excellent defensive side, but I don't see they have a huge amount. They obviously have a lot of quality going forward, but I don't think they have a huge amount of know-how going forward. And this stage of the season, where there's a lot of 3-game weeks coming up, I don't see that there's huge amounts of time on the training ground. We're very much getting into that grind of play, recover, aren't we? Rather than a lot of time out there training. So yeah, I'd be confident. I'm confident every time I walk into Portman Road at the moment. So yes, stick me down for another 3.
It's tremendous. Brilliant stuff, guys. We've got plenty of your totals coming in. We're going to go through them in a sec, but let's see what the Blue Monday team said. So remember, we'll be at game 24 by this point. This is 8 games on to where we are
and
now.
Add 3 onto mine.
Oh, okay. We'll add
2 points per game.
Oh, wow. Okay. Right. It looks like me and Dave are the biggest misers there with 12 points. But in deference to me and Dave, if we have 51 points at game number 24, having played Leeds twice already and having got that fixture against Leicester out of the way, I'm cock a hoop with that. So Rich had 13, Seb 14, and Craig 14. Mikey has just pushed it up to 2 points per game. And to be fair to Joe, we all laughed at him with his ludicrous, absurd predictions towards the end of last season. And he was closer than any single one of us. So 17
Who's laughing
points.
now, boy?
Who's laughing now? Let's look. Why did you make me do that, Mike? I literally just... Have you ever seen that thing with Paul Scholes where he said, yeah, Giggsy took his shirt off. I just went to take mine. I don't know what the hell I was doing. I just copied him. That was me just then. Basically, your Giggs, I'm Scholes. We'll leave it that way. Right, what have we got here? 14 for Neil, 15 for Neil, 18 for Colin. Go on, Colin. 12 Horse, Hullera. Michael, 9. Although still, 9 of the 39, 48. This is the ridiculous thing. If we score 0, we're still on course for the playoffs, which is ridiculous because if you double up 39 from game 23, for example, you get 78, which works nicely. 14 for Rob, 21. I knew there was going to be one. Go on, Bowles. 16, Nick. 14, Ipswich Town Old Boy. 15, Nick. Howard, 15. Rodders, 14 or 15, 1.8 per game. Zach, 16 or 18. This is lovely.
And he's a doctor, Ben, so
Oh, okay.
he prescribes that many points.
10 for Nick. Any more for any more? I think we're there.
I've got a question for you, Ben.
Can I just do these last two,
Yeah.
Mikey, and then you can ask it. And by the way, before Mikey asks me a question, get your questions in now, and we'll go Q&A for the final 10 minutes of this podcast. Tim, Heart says 18, Head says 15. Nice. And I think we are all there. Get your questions in on anything you like. Stick a Q before it and a question mark after it, and I'll more likely see it. Mikey, sorry, go ahead.
So Ben, we're on this ridiculous run of scoring in every game, aren't we? Do you still think we'll have that run intact after Boxing Day?
I mean, the odds are that we won't, because the run's ridiculous as it is anyway. But if you take the 7 games, I always think it's unfair to do that. You know, take the 7 games in isolation. I know you guys poo-pooed it, but that Coventry one is rankling with me, whether that could be a 0-0 or a 1-1. You would think we would score at Middlesbrough, might not score at Leeds. I don't know. Odds are against it. What say you, Mikey? And then on to Joe with that one.
Yeah. Oh, go on, Joe.
Yeah, just by chance, you think there'll be a game where, even like West Brom, it's a game you go there, you could have a 0-0 up there, isn't it, or stuff like that. But we don't seem to play in a way that will have us stop ourselves from scoring, do we? We seem to attack each game, so who knows? But yeah, you wouldn't have thought it would go on for as long as it has done, would you? But who knows?
And Ben, another one from me. I also think we're going to lose that at some point in the next few games, but that's not a huge problem. Would you rather take 3 points from Norwich at home or Leeds away?
What? So you have to win one and you have to lose one.
Yeah.
It kills me to say it. You have to, if you've got any logical, strategic fibre in your brain, you have to take it from the Leeds game, because you want to. I don't want that to be the answer, but you know, so
I get it, because it's like getting 6 points, isn't it? That essentially, because you're taking that.
And bearing in mind, we've already lost to them as well. If you have a clean slate against Leeds for the season, where you know they've got 3 points and you've got 3 points, Joe, then essentially who finishes higher out of those two teams depends on what you do.
I just think the win against Norwich, there's a few like intangibles there, and like the lift that
that's true.
It'll
Someone
give
mentioned
everyone
that in the comments, actually. Yeah.
It's sort of, it's not really a measurable one, but I mean,
but you didn't allow me that, because you said one or the other, and the intangible. The intangible could happen then against Leeds if you beat Norwich, doesn't it? But right, get your questions in, guys. Let me scroll up, and we'll answer as many as we can. Where's the first one? I saw one up here. Oh my God, why can't I find questions? Stick a Q before it and a question mark. We love how much interaction there is up here, but it does make it rather hard for me to find anything. We get this most weeks, don't we, lads? Is another striker critical now in January? Joe, it's yes, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. Especially with the position that we're in. You've just got to. Positions like this don't come around ever, do they? We're going to be likely in the top 2 when January starts. So, how many chances of promotion do you get? You see, like Coventry this season, where they had a chance, they didn't get it. They've lost their 2 best players, and now they're in 20th.
Stansfield, Joe, or Bishop at Portsmouth?
Yeah, I think Bishop would be a hard one to get out of Portsmouth, because they are doing so well. And is he a player that's going to go into the Premier League? But it's difficult to say. I'd imagine it's one you look in the loan market for, isn't it? Unless you've got a perfect player that's out of contract in the summer that you can pick up for a cheap fee. But maybe Scarlett's up to speed, but it's a very difficult one.
Mikey, Nick is asking about the FA Cup third round. My take, before you give me yours, is you almost need to look at that as another international break, given the run coming up, and that there isn't one until March. And obviously, you want to win games and progressing cups and whatnot.
Yeah.
But whatever the outcome of that game is, it's got to be the same approach as last season and the 11 changes, hasn't it? Surely.
Yeah, and when we do the 11 changes, I don't think it does us a huge amount of harm to get through. And you can lose momentum by being knocked out poorly. Let's have fingers crossed, Nick, for a really good draw in the third round of the FA Cup against one of the big boys. And there's absolutely no shame in going out. And then, like you say, it's basically an international break for a couple of match weeks, isn't it, later on in the season?
This is a really interesting question from Jace. He says, how many red and yellow cards do you predict in the Norwich game? But, Joe, can I add to that? In terms of that being a nasty game where one team or both teams, hopefully one team gets particularly wound up and loses their heads, is that something if you were Norwich, you'd probably want that to happen, wouldn't you? And if you're Ipswich, you're probably saying, let them lose your heads, but keep yours, right?
And like the last time we played Norwich, there was a massive gulfing quality between the two teams, and the way we tried to level it up was by Paul Lambert sort of starting a fight in the dugout and
a performative fight, yeah,
and a few sort of, I think Flynn Downs put a bad tackle in on Todd Campbell and a few bits like that, and they want to do bits like that, but for me, that's the game they want to play. That's their hope of beating us, because if it comes down to a game of football, they're not going to get near us.
Mikey, question, final points total. We're at the point now where we said this a few times. It'll be hard. It'll have to be a really bad drop-off. We'd essentially have to turn into a bottom half team for it to not really be landing above the 70 mark. And a reasonably decent team will get 80 with a 39 from 16 start, Mikey. That's just the pure basic maths of it, isn't it?
Yeah. I'll go 83.
If you did 1.5 points per game from now on, which isn't massively difficult to achieve, is it? That's 84 points.
Wow. Which probably is.
I suppose after predicting that we get 16 points from the next 8 games, I probably should just go for 92, shouldn't I?
Yeah, otherwise you're only getting 28 from the last 22, Mikey.
Yeah.
You follow yours through.
I can see Southampton and Leeds both being either on 90 or close to 90 as well. So that could be a 4th place finish. But let's hope we don't regress to average. We don't regress at all. We get like 114 points or something mental. So
we'll know a lot more on January the 1st, won't we? Or on December the.
We'll always know more one game down the line, Joe, won't we? James, where do I buy Ben's sweater not pre-worn? Don't know where you can get it pre-worn, but James, you can buy the pre-worn sweater here for 5,000 English pounds. I will drive it to your house. Just send us an email. No, some website. I'll ask my missus and I'll tell you. Did we do this? I think we did this last week, didn't we? How many of the 24 will be in the Premier League squad next season? Bars, I think we did do that last week, so we will scoot over that one. Joe, you can send Morsel will pick up 10 yellows before the Norwich Leeds Leicester games, 2 game suspension. Yes.
I am. I think he's on 7, isn't he? So sort of 6 games to get through without picking up 3 yellow cards is difficult, because he does sometimes need to take one for the team and do it. Last year, he was excellent at walking the tightrope on 9 bookings, but I did feel like he lost a little bit from his game when he was having to do that, and he was having to sort of not play his more natural game to do so. So, yeah, that is a big concern. So ideally.
If he got booked in his next 3, they'll be back for the Norwich game.
Yeah.
Starts to all get very, very tricky when you think about it like that. Nick, well, I'll take this one. At what point does our momentum from last season run out? When does the high physicality of this season catch us up? There's got to be a point when just the sheer exertion of the last 18 months means you have a bad run of a few games. Assuming that is going to happen, even if it's for 2 or 3 games, I know a lot of people will blindly assume that that's never going to happen for the next 100 years and we'll win everything ever. You just want that to be done before Easter so you can have a good old run towards the end of the season. Philip is asking about the 10th book, and I think we've covered that. Steve, sorry, Mike, this one I better go to Joe. Where would you rank McKenna in the top 20 managers? So remember, it's not top 20. It's the power rankings. It's who's got the highest status at the moment. It's not who's the best, but do it anyway, Joe.
I think he's a Premier League manager, isn't he? When you look at the managers in that league, but there's obviously that elite level of managers at the top, the Peps, the Klopps, even like Unai Emery a little bit further down there. But yeah, I don't think there's many teams outside probably the 10 best teams in England that would not be improved by having him come in as their manager. So yeah, somewhere in that sort of early teens, mid-teens range.
I'd be surprised if Brighton weren't seriously looking at Kieran McKenna as their next manager already.
Mikey Norman Ashton says we have Mark, that is FFP headroom. What sort of budget will we have in January? Will we break our transfer record? There's a possibility, actually, isn't there?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, who is that striker though that we're going to spend 5 million on? Until I hear a name that I think, yeah, we could like he'd improve us and he's worth the investment. And we can get him. That was the problem in the summer, wasn't it? It's that we couldn't quite get those players that we really wanted. It's difficult. I could see us trying to pick up signings like we did last January. Really, just trying to find a couple of diamonds in the rough. Maybe take a gamble on a player that doesn't have a great fitness record recently, like we did with Luongo. Yeah, it's a difficult one, really. That they might already have these targets all lined up, and they might have numbers in mind.
A transfer record level signing would be a summer thing, but you never know.
Yeah,
you never know if we get
it with Marcus Stewart, didn't we?
There's no transfer.
It's just if somebody becomes available that is one of your long-term targets that you've been. I'm not saying Jay Stansfield, for example, someone we looked at on loan last summer. If all of a sudden Fulham think, actually, we need to just free up a bit of money for FFP headroom, so we're going to sell him for 8 million quid, and you think, actually, he's going to be worth double that in the future, and we like him, and he'll suit us now, so you just jump in and pull the trigger. And
what happens? It could happen. What happens if someone comes with 25 million plus add-ons for Leif Davis on January the 1st? What happens? You just can't rule that out in terms of happening. And I know everybody cries when you kind of suggest that the best players are going to leave a football club that's not in the top 20 in England. But, you know,
it would be nice to finally get some decent cash for a good player,
exactly.
wouldn't it?
Chris, to Ben, what's the feeling about us from fans of other championship clubs other than the Parachutes? Are they quietly pleased for us? Do they find us a bit irritating? Chris, you will not be surprised to know that football fans are incredibly emotionally led. Therefore, most of their takes are incredibly juvenile. So absolutely none of them are pleased for us because if you're emotionally led, then jealousy tends to be quite a big emotion that sort of comes. But you would rather people were irritated by you being way better than everybody expected. I'm having to correct a lot of people when I'm, oh, you're going to blow it, you're going to wobble or whatever. And I'm like saying, what are you talking about? If we lose our next 7 games, we'll still have more points than we maybe would have expected to have at this point anyway. So, people are quite confused about it, which is quite amusing from our point of view. But
I think
block
Premier
out
League,
the noise, Mikey, hey?
Yeah, and I think Premier League supporters that I speak to seem pretty excited by the idea of having a new, like, I know we've been there before, but not one of the old clubs coming straight back up again. Like in the same way that I think a lot of neutrals were quite excited to see Nottingham Forest go up a few years ago.
Yeah, it's true.
And to a lesser extent, maybe Leeds when they went up a few years before. I think we're quite a well respected club, but obviously there's going to be a little bit of jealousy in the green-eyed monster from other championship clubs because it's an emotional game. I can't say I've got particular fondness for many of the championship clubs that we've played against so far. So why would they?
And Joe, I just think it's quite nice that all of a sudden you're being treated by fans of teams like Southampton, particularly who've been in the Premier League for the last 10 years, and clubs the size of Leeds. You've been treated as an equal. Oh, we're coming for you. It's like, okay, bring it on, Joe.
Yeah, and if you take us out of the equation, the bottom three of the Premier League and the top three of the Championship would be the promoted teams and the relegated teams. So we are the only side stopping that crap-looking season of just teams going straight up and teams coming straight back down. So I think it's important on that side.
Just to quickly add to that, I've written about that today. That the only thing that would make that interesting is if you get some head-to-head, neck and neck, second versus third. But I agree with you. It's in the bigger scheme of things, it's bloody boring, isn't it?
Yeah, and we're a proper old team, aren't we? Like Mike was saying about the Forest and teams like that. People would rather see us up there than a name team I'm going to insult here, but like a Bournemouth, for example, aren't they? Like with a 10, 11,000 stadium, and yeah, they're trying to progress, but ultimately they're never going to be us, are they?
No. And on that note, we will say a huge thank you to everybody for joining us today on the Blue Monday podcast. Let us know what you thought of the power rankings. Let me just bring the graphic up again. You can have one more look at Joe's top 5 in the ITFC power rankings. Let us know yours via Twitter. Apologies, that wasn't very audio proof, was it, doing it that way? But there you go. I'm sure you've heard the show and know what they are by now. As I said, we'll be back on Thursday for the West Brom preview. And then it gets rolling again, Mikey, for a hell of a run up until Christmas. As the roller coaster sits in the, whatever you'd call it, at the start of the roller coaster ride. What are your final thoughts today, Michael?
Oh, it's just incredibly exciting to be talking about this sort of thing, isn't it? I like when you said about the Southampton fans speaking about Ipswich like we're on the same level as them. It wasn't that long ago that Peterborough were laughing at us and we were thinking, oh, I wish we could be like Peterborough. I wish we could be like Coventry. And take a look at us now.
So take a look at me now. Joe, it's just an empty space for you to say something. And he's muted himself.
I don't know how that happened. Did you mute me? Because I didn't do anything there. So.
No, my hands have literally been here the whole time.
No,
they could be here if you want.
just keep enjoying the ride. It's fantastic. Yeah. It will end soon, but until it does, just enjoy every game.
Yeah, these are the good times that we're going to reflect back on in a few years. So let's just make sure that we're absolutely drinking it in.
All the time, studio.